So, you know what it's like when you see somebody with something in their teeth and you just kind of want to tell them but don't know how, or you see somebody with their skirts a little too light and you can see everything. You don't know how to tell them that something's wrong. I feel like as website designers, we go around looking at other people's websites. And I never know, I don't know if any other designers know, but I never know how to tell people that their sites look really fugly and that it's time for a redesign. Hi there, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Yasmin Robles with Robles Designs. We create drill-worthy websites and brands for entrepreneurs who are hell-bent on taking over the world. In today's episode, we are going to be covering a long list of reasons for you to know that it's time for a website redesign. So make sure that you are checking these off, and if none of them resonate with you, then it's not time to redo your website. If it is time to redo your website, you can contact me or your friendly neighborhood designer and start getting on the ball and start updating your website or redesigning it or completely rebuilding it, because it's time. If you are new here, please make sure to subscribe and follow and do all those awesome things. You can find us on Instagram at Robles Designs Studio, and you can catch all my awkwardness right there, right in your phone. So without further ado, let's dive into the list. Okay, so the number one reason, and even if you stop watching this video, which please don't, but the number one reason that you would want to redesign your website is because you feel extremely embarrassed about telling people to go to it. So let's say you're going to a networking event, you're like a business coach, or you are a dentist, or whatever you are. You go to this networking event, you're so gung-ho about selling to people, about just meeting people and making connections, and then they ask you what your website is, what your URL is, and you hesitate and you just feel so embarrassed. You start sweating. You're like, well, it's kind of this, but don't go there. You might even give excuses. So you might say, oh, it's just, it's under construction, and you have used that excuse for like a year now, and you're just so embarrassed about sharing your website. And that is one of the biggest reasons that it's time to do a website redesign, because you're so embarrassed of your site that it's not actually helping you market your business. It's not helping you just strut into a room confidently and talk about your business when you know that people are going to be stalking you online. So number one reason to start a redesign of your website is because you are super, super embarrassed about it, that you don't even want to tell your mom about it, and your mom loves you no matter what, right? Reason number two is that it is loading super, super slow. And I get it, you might have DIY'd your site, you might have forgotten that images need to be compressed, or some of the mistakes that do-it-yourselfers make. Sometimes these can slow down the website. And so if it is just loading and you feel like I could run a marathon faster than your website could load, then there's a problem. So if your website is running slow, it might definitely be time for a website redesign, or at least a big cleanup. Hey, just popping in real quick to let you know that we do have a free downloadable checklist so that you can run through it and really check off everything on the list that you should have on your website. So whether that's the certain SEO aspects, if you have to optimize images, it's on the checklist. You can cross it off and just know that and feel comfortable with that your website is up to par. So make sure you go to roblesdesigns.com/checklist, CHECKLIST. I design, I don't necessarily spell, but yeah, so make sure to download that. And we also do have a 3-day website challenge. You can check that out on our site as well. Make sure to follow us. And now back to the episode. If your website is outdated, it's time for a redesign. And I don't just say this because of the styling, although yes, please, if it looks like it was made in 2010, it's time for a website redesign. Although I feel like 2010 wasn't that long ago, but then I did the math and it's a long time. So Google, in I believe 2021, Google's John Mueller, I think that's how you say his last name, He's a big wig at Google, and he basically said that just the gist of it is, if your website is not that great looking and the user who goes to your site realizes this and pops out, it could potentially hurt your rankings. So it's just a bigger reason for you to, if your website looks outdated, it's time for a redesign. Another reason that you would want to redesign your site is that it just does not embody your brand anymore. So let's say you've been around for a while, you started off with a couple of services and you've completely shifted your brand, or that you have completely transformed and instead of a solopreneur, you now have a team of people, you offer different services, you are, for example, maybe you were a wedding videographer and now you are a corporate videographer. It's completely different. The brand is different, and your website should really embody that. So if it doesn't anymore, it's time for a redesign. If your site is more than 3 years old, some people say 5, I say 3 because things and trends and all that stuff changes so often. If it's longer than, if it's been online and has not been touched for over 3 years, it's definitely time for a redesign. Things change so fast that by 3 years, my laptop's gonna be outdated and I just bought it. So in 3 years, your website could be totally outdated, or the information could be off, the copy needs to be rewritten, whatever that may be, it needs to be redesigned. Another reason that you might want to redesign your website or reorganize it is if your navigation is all over the place, and especially if your navigation has a more button, you're like a more tab on it, where there's another drop down with the rest of the pages that apparently did not fit in the navigation, you definitely need to redesign and reorganize a site. And it's not just that it needs to be reorganized. People coming to your site really need to be given a direction of what to do. And if your navigation, which is basically like a map of all the places they could go or they could start their journey, if it's confusing, or if you have duplicates, so if you have, for example, request a consult and then you have a button on there, why? You should just focus on one. So make sure your navigation is streamlined. And I would say no more, about 5 to maximum 7 tabs on a navigation, making sure that the more you have, it's probably going to be more confusing, and you want to make sure that they are 1 word versus 2, 3 word tabs for the navigation. If you do find yourself kind of adding more to that navigation, think about adding a mega menu, which is typical of e-commerce places. So if you hover over like tops on an e-commerce site, then something will drop down and talk about tank tops or sweatshirts and that kind of stuff. So they have all these subcategories under this one main category, and that subcategories area drops down. That's called a mega menu. Another reason that you should really think about redesigning your website is if there is no mobile friendliness. So if I'm going to your site and I'm kind of like pinching and stuff on my phone, trying to like zoom in, zoom out, trying to see everything, or if maybe things just reorganize weird, it's time for a redesign. And this is especially true for sites that clients have DIY'd on platforms like sometimes WordPress, but sometimes more so, I've seen it on Wix, where it's amazing because the platform gives you all this ability to design exactly what you want it to look like, but most do-it-yourselfers don't think about mobile. And so when they're designing, they think they're done, they see it on desktop, and then all of a sudden someone tells them that it looks weird when they're on their phone, and by that time the client has already seen it. So you want to make sure that when you are designing your site, that it is mobile friendly as much as you can without a developer. And if you are going onto your site right now and you see that all of the pages look kind of funky on mobile, then it's time for a redesign. Another reason that you might want to consider redesigning is if you still have Flash on your site. And I don't know if you remember what Flash is. It's kind of like a program. A lot of photographers used to use it. But listen, if you know what Flash is and it is on your site, please stop. Just don't anymore. Just don't use Flash for a site. Let's talk, because there's other ways, there's other solutions of tackling the problem without actually having to use Flash, and it's just really outdated. Sometimes it doesn't even load. So if you're still using Flash, please make sure to schedule a session because it's time for a redesign. If your site isn't delivering conversions it's time for a redesign. So let's say you built your site, you DIY'd it, you're so excited, it launches, and maybe during the launch you got a couple of customers because you told everyone about it, but then it kind of just stayed stagnant, or just dipped because it's not a grand opening anymore, so it kind of dips. Traffic is slow, it's not really growing, and you're not really, even if traffic is there, the site is not converting for you. So people are coming to your site, but they're not buying from you, they're not scheduling from you. It's a sign that something needs to be reorganized and the user journey needs to be reorganized. So it's time for a redesign. If you are still using cheesy stock images, yeah, it's time for a redesign. I don't even know how to explain this. Like, there's so many other places that you could get better photos from that are free. There's Pexels, there's Unsplash. A lot of my clients use those, and even the people in my course have used those. Those are pretty good. Just look for some that haven't been overused in the past. But definitely, if you're using those like awkward stock images, yeah, it's time for you to redesign your site. If you are so afraid of making changes on your website because it starts to like blow up, or maybe you can't even log into your site, or maybe you need to be on a specific computer to log on to the site because for some reason it won't let you log into the admin area to make changes unless you're on that specific computer, it's time for a redesign. If you can't do maintenance on it anymore, if you can't do anything, any changes, or it's just excruciating to upload a blog post onto your website, it's time for you to consider a redesign, possibly a different platform. If people visiting your site are having a really bad experience on it, it's time for you to also do a redesign. And this is even worse because some people might still order from you if you have an ugly looking website, or read your blog because the content might be great. Maybe it doesn't really load slow, but it's confusing to navigate the site, or it's confusing to just follow the user journey. Like when they get to your site, they're so excited, they stalk you online, they think you're awesome, and then they just get really confused about what to do, how to do it on your site. Then the user journey is off. So without us getting too much into UX and user journey profiling and all that, make sure that you're thinking about the user, where they're coming from, and what their intent might be in order to streamline your site so that they can just go do their thing, contact you, schedule with you, buy from you, and just to ensure that their journey is great, right? And if it's not, it's time for a redesign. Last one, if your competition has better looking websites than you, it's time for a redesign. So if your competition, like a lot of them, I mean, have really nice sites, you see them having success, I think it's time for a redesign. You might also want to take a look at their marketing, but it's very telling when, let's say you sell coffee, right? And all of the other sites that I could be going to that sell coffee look different, look updated, they have great photos, they it's an easy checkout process without PayPal having to pop up and ask me for my information. It's just an easier process, and so people are going to gravitate towards them instead of to your website. So if you see that happening, if you see that a lot of your competition has a snazzy looking website, you might want to consider redesigning it. Quick story for you. So I recently bought some coffee and tea from a place that I know about, and they are a great group of people. I know one of the people that runs it, and I've tasted the product, so it's good coffee and great tea, and I just like that they pair with the local cookie maker, and it's just more excuses for me to have more carbs, and I love me some coffee. But I actually would never have ordered from them if I had only seen their site. So for example, if I had caught on to them from social media, gone to their site, I probably would have thought it was kind of janky, like they might take my money, and I would never see my precious coffee, and it sounds so delicious, and I bought it, and what if I never see it? What if it doesn't get shipped to me? What if it's just not something that I just didn't trust the site? But because I knew the people, I knew literally probably who's going to be delivering it to me, then that's why I ordered. Otherwise, I wouldn't have. Why? Because it's an outdated style of a website, and it was just clunky. And not to their awesome people, if they watch this video, I hope they don't, feel bad, or just, hit me up and I'll do some fixes on your site. But it's very, very much where I don't believe I would have ordered if I didn't already know about them and have met the owners and tasted the product. That's it. That is my list of reasons of when you should actually redesign your website. Whether you have DIY'd it or not, these signals will give you a really good reason to just kind of take the plunge and redesign a site, whether with me, on your own, changing platforms, whatever that solution looks like. I would love to see you really grow your site and redesign it. If you are so keen, you can, in the comments, put the link to your site. I would love to take a look at it. And let me know if you are okay with me reviewing your site for an upcoming video. And you can check us out on Instagram at Robles Design Studio, where you can see all of my awkward reels. And we are now on TikTok for more awkwardness of me. So make sure to follow us on those platforms. Make sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will catch you in the next episode.